Good afternoon, everybody. I'll just give everybody a minute here. And how's everybody doing? Hello, Ganila. Hi, Connie. How are you? We have some Christmassy cards. I know it's still fall and I'm enjoying fall, but I love to be able to get my Christmas cards done early and kind of have a lot of fun doing them. Hi, Janet. And I have the new Christmas album to show you. And hi, Christy. It's windy there. It's just kind of gray out today. It's not warm, not cold, just a little cloudy here. What are you guys up to today? My daughter wanted to do some crafts, so we've got crafts all over the table. And she was making some bookmarks and I was doing some card making, so that's always fun. So this is a look at the card we're going to make today. You are in Vernon, Connie. For some reason I thought you lived in Alberta. It's windy near Oyen, yeah. Hey Tamara, how are you? So this is a look at this card we're gonna do today. And we are using some of the Spellbinders dies. So Shotz has just recently started carrying the Spellbinders. It certainly is gloomy here. Yeah, it just is one of those days in Calgary where you could just curl up under a blanket and maybe have a little nap. Yeah, I know. So there are just a ton of really sweet dies in the shop, but I thought we would do something with this Christmas card. It's called Oh Christmas Tree, and it's a die set, so you get the outline of the tree. Hey Jennifer. And then you get this part here. So this part you would cut with the outline so that you could cut the snowy branches, or if you wanted a tree that was just kind of a two colors, then you could use another green for that. It would make it look like it's a little bit of a shading. Hey Stacy. And the outside of the tree, that's what we use to cut the full outside, and I'll show you the pieces. So this is the one that I've gone ahead and cut. I like that they've given you some options. So this is the outside of the tree here. Then this one is the inside plus that outside, so that you get your layer. We're doing a snowy layer. But if you wanted to do a darker green, that would look nice as well. Then I use these little pieces to cut the little baubles and the stars. And then there's even a star for the top. You could just use it like this, or they've given you this little embossing area, which you could actually have some fun just embossing with this, because when you put it in the center, hi Tammy, it gives you this really cool embossed star. So there's lots of options with that. But then they have this Oh Christmas Tree, so it's a layered Christmas tree stencil, and it matches with this. So then you can either stencil all your elements. So there's 4 different elements on this stencil. You've got your tree. Hi, Gail. You've got all those little baubles. Then you have the snowy kind of outline, and it ends up to be, so this part is actually the negative part of this. And I believe, maybe it's not. I'm just trying to see if it, oh, it would be this way. No, it is, it's exactly the same. And then you have this snowy background, which we're going to use today. And then you've got a couple different options for your stars. So you can do a whole stenciled, layered stenciled background. I'm going to use this stencil with the card, but you could stencil your tree, you can cut it out with this, you can mix and match, or you could just do a whole stenciled design and add in, like you could do foil or gels, or the sparkly texture pastes would look amazing. So lots of different options, and that's the layered Christmas tree. Hi, Maureen. So that's what we are going to use today, and I also have a few little lawn fawn stamps, so I could not help. I made the card, and then I was looking for a sentiment, and I decided on this season's greetings. So this is from the lawn fawn. I've got Joy to All and Furry and Bright are the 2 stamp sets that I've kind of mixed and matched. And we've got inside, May Your Days Be Furry and Bright. So cute. So I thought, how cute would this be if we added this little guy, and he's wearing the little reindeer hat, and it's so cute. And he's got a little bone, and then we added a couple little presents. So I have this thing for like animal stamps wearing clothes. I think they're so cute. So we will make that in a minute. And what I wanted to show you, oh, we're also going to use some of this grit paste, snowfall paste. So it is the grit paste, but it has little like sparkly glitter in it. And I actually added a little bit of, I was just playing around with this, the crackle paste, the icicle, and I added a little bit of that to the star. And it's just a little bit, but you can see it really has a really nice shine, and you can see the crackles that show up in it. So I thought that was cool. But I want to give you a look at this book, and then we'll make our card. So this is the Christmas Cheer mini album, and Sandy asked me if I would make a mini album exclusive to Scrap Shotz. So we gathered the supplies. So we're using the Simple Stories Simple Vintage Rustic line. It's a really like a vintage Santa line, and it's got you know, kind of that pine colored green, and the not a super bright red, but more of a muted tones and the grays, and it's just really pretty. I did sit down. Can you it's probably not as loud. Hey there, Stacy's up at her. Thank you. So we've got lots of different dimension and stickers. This mini album is going to come with everything that you need to make the album. No, that's good. It's good to know. So we've got a 6x12 sticker sheet. We've got all the papers that you need. We've got glitter cardstock. You've got ephemera, and there's enamel dots that come with it, and a 12x12 sticker sheet. And I'm not looking at the exact supply list right now, but there's also a little bag that has sprinklets and twine, and you have everything that you're going to need to make this album. And then you've got a full PDF that you will have to be able to go step by step. And I've written it so that it's, you know, on the page 1, what you cut. And I've even taken the pages and showed you exactly how to do your cuts so that you don't have to guess or worry about that you're cutting something wrong. Everything is really clearly labeled because I like creating a mini album when I am sure that I'm doing the right cuts. But I'm going to give you a flip through, and you know, if you want to end up adding some of your own little stickles for detail, you can do that. But there's so many really wonderful elements in this line, and I just love that we put this book together for you guys. So it is in the store under Christmas Cheer Mini Album. So here's a little flip through. There's elements that you'll find that are interactive. So this is also a nice way, once you complete it, you have those instructions, and you could take another paper line and make another mini album kind of based on the same thing and have an idea about how to layer things. So we've got different fold out things, and they're not hard. These are all, you know, easy concepts that you can put together. It's not difficult, but they end up looking really nice. And there's lots of room for photos. And in the store, when you see the mini album in the shop, it tells you exactly what you're going to get with that. You can see that list. So there's some of those really cute little sprinklets. And there's lots of stickers, and we used most of the stickers. So you're really getting a lot of use out of your sticker sheets. If you have sticker sheets at home, this is a great way to learn how to use them. And there's some little pockets that, you know, you can take things out. They have some neat elements that you might not think to try. So we've even got a little shaker pocket here, which is fun. And all these spots are spots that you're going to be able to put journaling or photos. And if you decide that you want to put, you know, you want to change up your photos, and if you didn't want to put a large photo here and you want it too small, then you can do that. So there's lots of little flaps, which I like. And then you could go ahead and make this like a daily album, putting numbers on it. And I love the elements like the little stamps. Thanks, Stacy. It's really cool, hey? Sometimes it is hard to tell in photos, but when you do see it, I was pleased with how it turned out. There's lots of popped up elements, so I tell you whenever you need to pop something up or put some foam dots. And the student supply list is included with the PDF as well, so you can see exactly what I use. Like here I used a corner rounder, but if you didn't have one, you wouldn't have to use it. It would be really nice as a December daily. You're right, Tamara. And there's lots of fun cut aparts. We've added some stickers there. I really love this line. It is just beautiful. So you get the book, and then all these pocket pages come in the book, and I just tell you which one is needed for which page. And here's a little pocket. I love this little library card. You could even write that some of your favorite Christmas books or any kind of Christmas list. And then you've got some chipboard stickers. You've got the cardstock stickers. Here we used one of the cut aparts and used a circle die. So just giving you some other ideas about how you can use those pages. And there's the last page. And then we've got this little pocket, and you can add little photos in here. And you could even add more pages if you decide, because these flip books actually open up, and then you can put as many pages as you want in them. They're a really cool concept. Like, it reminds me of the books, I don't even remember what we called them when we were younger in school, and they used to have these, so that you can make those as big as you want. And then add the little tags. So that is a look at the Christmas Cheer mini album, and that's available now. And then we are going to make our card. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to email or message us for sure. All right, so what we're going to do is add the pastes first so that those can have a little bit of chance to dry, and then we'll color the Lawn Fawn stamps. So I have a slimline card that I've just cut to, it's 8.5 long by 7 wide. So when it folds, it's going to be 3.5 by 8.5. And I think that's a pretty standard size for a slimline card, and that just fits in like a number 10 envelope, and you can mail it for the same cost as you normally would. This is a piece of blue cardstock, and I just cut using the Mama Elephant Slim Card Basic, and that die is in the store, and that's just the stitched rectangle that cuts the slimline size. So we've got a nice border there. And we're going to take our stencil, so this layered Christmas tree stencil, you can see it with that dark behind there. It's really cool. I really need to play around more with this, incorporating the cutting die with the stencil, or maybe just doing like a whole stenciled background card. So I think I may do that later. They give you some ideas about what you can do on the back. Really cool. And again, there's lots, if you like the Spellbinders products, there's lots in the shop. So I'm gonna grab a little piece of washi tape. And we'll just tape this from behind. And it's not going to go the full way down, but that's okay because we're going to put on some snowdrifts. And it doesn't have to be even or lined up because they're just snowflakes and they can go willy-nilly, right? I'm not ready to see real snowflakes yet, but I'm okay with creating snowflakes. So this is just texture paste. You'll see this either as the Ranger texture paste or the Distress texture paste, and they're both the same product, just in a different container. Hey Celine, how are you? So I'm just using a plastic palette knife and scooping that out. Lindsay, do I have extended platform for my slimline rectangle dies? The one end never cuts out. Okay, sometimes it lets me, with your standard Big Shot. So what I do, I have two different machines. I do have the Vagabond, which has a long enough plate, but if I'm using my, I'll show you, if I'm using my Cuttlebug, the plates are smaller, and so what I do is I would take my die and tape it onto my cardstock. So I don't have an extra piece of cardstock, but if I was putting my cardstock through, I would put a piece of washi here and at the bottom. Then I would run it through up to about here and back. Then I would carefully just move it. I wouldn't take it off or anything. It's still taped, which is why you do want to have a piece of washi. So then I would just move it up this way, put the plate back on, run it through to here and back. Does that make sense? And I have no problem doing that. And it's just, it takes you a minute longer just because you're running it through both ends, but you just need to carefully shift it up and run it through the other way. You're always worried. Yeah, and I don't run it completely through because I think it would be fine, but I didn't know if it would kind of like warp it or something, so that's why I run it through one way back, push it in one way and back. Oh, perfect, Stacy. All right, so we've got our texture paste, and this is just a white paste. You can do lots with this paste. You can color it and you can sprinkle glitter on it, and it is a nice bright white, which I like. Now, if you did put this over a distress ink background, because your inks are reactive, it's going to pull some color from that, but this is just over cardstock, so it's going to stay nice and bright. And it's really easy to clean up. So I am just kind of pulling it, and if you have the stencil pal, which I do have it, I just forgot to bring it up, then I'm just using the edge, so I'm smushing it like this and then using the edge to pull it down. And any extra we're going to be able to put back in the jar, so don't worry about wasting anything. I've had this jar for a long time, and you can put on like some of that press and seal if you wanted to keep it sealed a little bit more even, but I really haven't had a problem. Okay. And it doesn't matter if we get a little bit down there because we are just going to add some snowy hills. So then we're going to pull this off. And it doesn't take long to dry, and you can see how nice and bright. So of course, before it's dry, you don't want to touch it or it's going to smudge a little bit. And then I would go and wash this off right away. I just have some water here. So I'm just going to put it in some water, because if it does dry on, you're going to have a bit of a hard time getting it off. And we are just going to put this right over here. It's not a large amount, so it's going to dry really quickly. Now for our tree and our hills, and we're even going to add a little bit of that icicle stuff. So I'm gonna, you're not fast enough to go wash your stencils, so there's a bin of warm soapy water. Yes, and that's probably a good idea. And then you can just throw them in there and wash them at the end. And I usually just use a baby wipe to go over the stencil, and then I don't have to worry about having like a huge rag, or I can just throw the baby wipe out after. So this is the holiday texture set. I think that's what it's called, is it not, Stacy? So it comes in a 2-pack. You've got the grit paste, which is the snowfall, and crackle paste in icicle. So I've learned from my example. I'm glad. This one here is really cool, and I haven't played around with it a whole lot, but it's like you've got this glitter. It's the grit paste, which is neat, and I think I need to use it more. And then you've got this glittery bit in here. So I'm sure there's probably, you know, people have different ways of using it, and as, you know, more people use it, you'll see different things. But, you know, sometimes it's just easy to put it on your finger, and I just wanted it to look like some snowy, glittery effects. Now, again, if you put this over some inked background, then it's going to pick up the color of your ink if your ink is water soluble. So just to keep that in mind, that's not a bad thing. It's just something, it's not going to stay bright white if you have an inked background. And I'm just adding a few areas where it's kind of bumpy, and then we're just going to let it dry. Yeah, once they sell out, they are gone. I know, and the holiday mica sprays, I feel like I am having FOMO over that. So I am glad that I got these. And it just gives you just a cool kind of textured, glittery effect. So I'm just rubbing a little bit on there, and then we're going to set that aside. And then we're going to rub a little bit on here. I haven't watched, usually I try to watch, you know, Tim Holtz's video. I've watched it, but I wasn't really super paying attention to this. So he may have other suggestions as well. And I'm just putting this on. Like, how cool does that look? You have it all. I want it all, Stacy. But yes, the mica sprays look gorgeous. And I know he's repeatedly said once they sell out, they're sold out. So that might take a little bit longer. We'll have to just be a little bit careful putting our things on, because you would probably set that aside to dry a little bit. So we'll leave it there. I do like, so here, I didn't put as much on, and you can see it's glittery, but I thought I wanted to try a little bit extra on. So I'm just gonna wipe that off. Again, that's just gonna wipe up easily, but you can pull this through the stencil too. So if you wanted to play around with that stencil and pull it through your snowdrops or your snowfall background, that would look really cool. Then we have this icicle crackle paste. I have not played around with this much, but I know Rosie did a card that had some on it and it looked really cool. And I'm just keeping these top pieces to stick back on there. So what I'm doing, this is really liquidy. It's like a glaze, and then it crackles as it dries. So I think as you, if you put it on a little bit thicker, you're gonna get thicker crackles, right? And here I tried painting it on with a paintbrush, and it didn't take too long to dry actually. This is one of those little Christmas snippets from one year from Tim Holtz. And you can see the crackles. Like, I can see it more now than I could a little while ago. So I think it does maybe take a little while, a little bit to dry, because it's very liquidy, but not super long. So I'm just going to blob this on, and I do like that it's really nice and shiny. So we're just going to set these over here and hope that they dry. And then I would wash the brush off right away, because I think if that dried, I haven't tested that theory, but I think if it dried, then it's probably stuck on there. But I just have a little cup of water and I'm just swishing it around in there. And then we will color our little guys, and then hopefully that stuff will be dry. I think you can use a heat gun on it too, and maybe you're not supposed to, but I am impatient and I like to be able to just heat something. All right, so I've got a few different colors here of Copics. So we'll start it with the dog. Now I did the dog here. You got these ones too. You got the mica sprays, Tammy, or the stamps or the dies? I did the puppy in E59 and E37, and I thought maybe he's a little bit dark for this card. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, I'm going to try and do a little bit less of the dark, just so you can really see, because he's kind of all brown. All right. I am sitting down right now, so you might not hear me as loud, but I'll try to speak up. So we're going to do his ears, and I'm just doing the darker area first. And there's really no wrong way. You just do it how you want to do it. And I'm sticking my hand. You had to backtrack and find the Halloween mica sprays? Yeah. They're beautiful, like, and the colors all go together, and they'll last. The mica gives such a beautiful shine. So we're just adding a little bit of that shading. And that was the E59. And then we've got the E37. So you're just going over that dark area just to blend it out, because your Copics are going to stay wet a little bit longer. And they're going to blend. Okay, and now that we have that part done, we can kind of go in and just fill in, or if you wanted a lighter color, you can go in and fill in with a lighter color. And as you kind of leave this, it's going to keep blending, just because everything's still wet. So it's pretty easy, and then I'm just going around the edges, and you're gonna see that's just gonna blend out. But as you add more color, you're going to it will deepen. So I kind of like that better, because I think you can see him a little bit better. And then we're going to do his little reindeer hat, which I think is adorable. So this one here is the Furry and Bright, and I know it was in the store when I checked. Then we're going to come in with this E33. We used the mica spray and one of the pastes for a design team project this week. Nice, Tammy. I'll have to check that out. Is that on your Instagram? Mr. Holtz is and his creative team are very persuading. Hey, Stacy. Hi, Rosie. Thanks. We will definitely have to check that out, Tammy. Okay, so this one is the E33, and the rest of it is just really colored easily. So this E51, I think Rosie told me about this one. It's a really nice kind of light off-white color. I'm going to add a little bit to the packages, just as a tiny bit of shading. And I'm not even going to fill that in completely. I'm just going to leave it white with that little bit of shading, and then the bone as well, just to give it that look of, you know, that the color, but it's not completely filled in. A Halloween one, which you'll be posting on the 2nd. Snowflake Christmas paste for Halloween. That's perfect. Hey, Lorraine, it's like a big party here. All right, we've got R29. Not that end. So we're gonna add a little bit on the bow, and these are small enough that really you don't have to add any shading. I'm just adding a little bit. So I'm going to add that, and then the R35. And you can see it a little bit. I think it does add a nice element without taking too long. So if you're, want to make some Christmas cards and you want to not be too long, you can see the shading there, but it's pretty quick. But if you just decided you just want to add one color, that's still going to look great. Snowfall grit paste, yes. I think that could totally work for Halloween, Tammy. This one is the B29. And then we'll just use this the whole way down. And we've got B24. All right, so those are all colored, and I want to trim just a tiny bit off so that it sits on his head okay. You didn't get them and now you regret them. I know, you and I both, Lindsay. You often forget to use them. Yes, I know, and sometimes it's hard to know, but it's okay. There will be something else. That's what I tell myself. And then we won't feel guilty when there's something else. Now look at his little hat. Seriously, a reindeer hat. I think I need one of those. Okay, so now we can put our card together and we'll just double check to see if this is dry. Even if it's not completely, we'll just be careful. Yeah, it's dry. So here, let me zoom out a little bit again. Okay. Yeah, it's dry. It doesn't take long. So we're going to put this directly on our background. You can see there's a little bit that's hanging over. We can just, if you're worried about it, you can just flick it off or trim it off. The FOMO one out. We're gonna have to go look for it after. Right, Stacy? All right. We've got our background on. Then I have my little season's greeting. Let's put so that actually, we put it on pretty thick, and that's actually pretty dry. Like, I could smush it down if I pressed it, but as long as I'm careful, it is fine for me to touch and move around. If I rubbed it against something, it might fall off, but it's pretty much dry. So I took a long strip of white cardstock and then this kind of snowy hill from that Mama Elephant Slim Card Basic. Spellbinders also has a nice set of 3 hills that have like 2 different sides that came down. We used it last week, and the center, so that would work as well. So have you guys started making your Christmas cards? And anytime you see Christmas cards or any kind of cards on here that we share live, feel free to use that design and make your cards. Like, that's what it's for. It's for inspiration, and you can put your own spin on it if you want, but That's to inspire you. So that's our hill. I really, really like that snowy area. You've got 20 done, only 60 more. Well, that is a big Christmas card order. All right, we are going to put this on, and I don't know if you can tell. Sometimes it's hard to know what you can see in the camera, and it sounds like Lorraine has not started, and Rosie has not. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah, good for you, Connie. You can be our inspiration. So we're going to glue this on. It has a really nice texture, and you can see that grit paste kind of peeking out. I'm not gluing everything down. Just by putting a few dots on, it's going to stay on. Yes. Obviously I've done the cards that I've showed here, but I haven't really made any batches of Christmas cards, which I should do, because I do like giving Christmas cards out to some family members and teachers and stuff like that. Okay, so we will put our foam dots on. These are the 3L foam squares, which I quite like from Scrapbook Adhesives. And this can go right in the center. I haven't shown it on my Instagram, but I don't know if it's on the Scrap Shotz Instagram. I made a card with this die and the background as well. So I made it for the carnival, but I should post it on my Instagram. So that was just an A2 size card, but I thought because it's tall, we had some extra room to move some things around, and it made a great slimline card. So I'm going to use the small. Now let's see if we can see any. This looks like it's still a little bit wet. I can start to see the crackles, and I think it's going to continue to crackle. I'm going to try not to touch the middle of it too much. You went and purchased the tree die and the stencil and the grit crackle paste. Perfect. Such a reasonable price point. I think so as well. Good for you, Lindsay. You didn't miss out on this. This is for sure. This is a great tree though, and you can combine it with so many different things. Like if you have little Christmas stamps, because it's always nice to have a Christmas tree, and then you can use it by itself, or I'm trying not to touch this too much because I think it's still wet in the middle, but it is crackle, so it's not going to matter too much if we... You can tell that it's crackling though. Yeah, so you can do a lot with it. And even if you didn't want to make it Christmas, and I think I want to try one with like a dark or a light green, just to have that multicolor effect. All right, so we've got our little guy, and I think we're going to pop him up as well. You can see I started to stamp on the other side and it didn't work, so I just turned it over. So this guy is going to be here. And we'll glue his little bone there. Okay, and then we've got these presents. So my snowy hills are a little bit different than they were in the other card. So let's see. maybe we'll put them down like that. We could even no, I don't like that. I think maybe like that. And if you wanted to pop them up there, you could too. And we'll just pop up the small one. Gifts are another good stamp. I think the gifts are from the Joy to All set. All right, so here, just depending on where your hills are, you can decide where you want to place them. Then we've got this Season's Greetings from the Joy to All, which is a really cute set as well. And I think some dimension is always fun. Thanks, Rosie. And having the slimline just gives us that extra bit of room that we can kind of have extra space. There's in the Joy to All, I think I have this a little crooked. Sometimes it's hard to tell when I'm standing. Okay. That Joy to All set has the little girl and boy, and they would be cute too in front of the Christmas tree. That would be a cute option. So we need to add, we'll add in a little bit of white gel pen. So usually what I do, I'm just looking for a scrap piece of paper. I'll just scribble to make sure it's flowing nicely. And then just add a few little highlights. And then if you want, you can even take the black gel pen, same thing, and just go over any of the face, the elements on the face, and it just kind of brightens them up. And I have some red stickles, so what I would recommend if you're using stickles is that you test it. So I always seem to get like a blob, and then once I've started it, I can kind of make sure, because I want just a little dot for his nose. Now you can, there, perfect. But I always do that test beforehand, because if I find if I don't, then I get this. Now you can like wipe up stickles and it comes off pretty well, but I think it's just easier to start again, or start it on a separate piece of paper. Then we have the little elements that the die cuts out, and these are fabulous. They cut out all these little circles, and then you've got the little stars, and then we just go ahead and put them on. So I think with this one I placed them on and then I lifted them up, but I think, you know what, maybe we'll do that. That gives you a better idea, and I think it's always easier to use a pair of tweezers, even though mine seem to be sticking a little bit on the end. So if you just put put them on and move them around. I like the gold is that Spellbinder's brushed gold. There's the gold and the silver, which is really nice. And you could do as many colors, or if you just wanted it to be white or silver, that would look nice as well. Do you guys have multicolor lights on your tree when you have a Christmas tree, or do you have white lights? Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. We could add a few more in there, but I think we're good with that. So my 14-year-old and Amy, she and I both like the white lights, and we have a tree where you can change the lights. I need to poke this. You can change the lights and make them like flashing, or the color can be plain or it can be multicolor, and so we have to take turns choosing. So Amy and I always choose to have, I'm trying to do this with my left hand, we always choose to have the white lights not flashing, and Erica always chooses multicolored lights, and they're probably flashing as fast as possible. Okay, we're gonna try this because I think I have a little more, less dexterity needed with my left hand. Well, it's entertaining if nothing else, right? But when I do craft my Christmas trees, I kind of like to have them multicolored. I just got up all my fall decorations, so I'm enjoying fall and enjoying sitting listening to Christmas music with my fall decorations up. You had multicolor when you were younger, now white, yeah. Your tree is 30 years old, so no lights. Multi-mini lights, hundreds of them. I love that, Lorraine. We had, when Mike and I first were married, we had this, it was so small, our Christmas tree. It was like, oh, I'm just using this is the, I've rubbed off the label, the Tonic Nouveau glitter drops, and it's the White Blizzard. It's just a clear, glittery drop. So we had like the smallest tree, and it was a fake tree, but I loved it. It was just this little tree, and we had it for years, and then we finally did get a new one that had lights attached, but it didn't have any lights, and I thought it was great. You know what, we're just gonna add a little bit of these drops to the middle as well, and these take a while to dry as well, so you're just gonna set that aside. And when I lived in Nova Scotia, we always had a real tree, because real trees are cheaper there than they are out here. And when I moved out west, real trees were quite expensive, which I guess you have more of a forestry industry in Nova Scotia, so that would explain why. So here's a look at this cute little tree, and we've got lots of glitter. You can see that crackle paste. I'm actually quite impressed with the crackle on that. I bet, Lorraine, like stuff that's made 30 years ago is probably going to last way longer than anything made in the last 10 years. And there's our little puppy with his red nose and his reindeer hat. Thank you. And then our little presents. Our presents are quite you know, they're not too flashy, so I think it matches with the tree. Lindsay, you always had a real tree until 10 years ago. Yeah, the smell is amazing, so I always make sure that I do have some a candle or something that smells like pine, but you're right, the needles everywhere, kind of annoying. So that is a look at our pretty little tree card. If you missed the Christmas cheer album, you can go back and watch the replay and see the full flip through, and then you can find that in the store under Christmas cheer mini album, and that's going to include everything that you need to make your project, as well as your full PDF. And there's photos for each page, so you can follow along with the photos. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful week and have a great weekend. I'm going to do some crafting this weekend and just relax and have some me time so the kids can make their own lunch. We'll see if that actually happens, but that's my my goal. Anyway, have a great weekend. I will see you guys next week, and be sure to get some crafting in and do things that make you happy. I'll talk to you later, and thank you so much for coming by. Thanks, Lorraine. Bye.